I never want someone to retire so early that they run out of money. And I also don't want someone to retire so late that they're mad at me when they go, what the heck? I wanted to make sure I spent what I worked so hard for to enjoy my retirement. When I had my health and my energy is when I wish I spent more. Now here I am, 80, 85, 90 with 10 million bucks, wishing that I really did retire earlier and that if I was in a fine spot, I didn't hesitate. So that's a fine balance. What I'm showing you today is a couple that has a little over $4 million and they want to make sure that they can spend what they want for their retirement. I have case studies for couples that have 500,000 and have retired, a million, 2 million, 3 million, and so on. So if this is not the video specifically for you because you don't have 4 million, don't worry, there's others that you can watch that are probably closer to your situation. And if you just want to take the same principles today and apply it to your situation, you can do that. So even if you don't have 4 million, this will still apply. And if you have much more than 4 million, this will still apply. So I hope you enjoy this content. Look at this right here. So you can see here, John and Hannah, 58 and 51, 23-year-old child. And you can see their net worth is about 5.5 million. I don't focus on net worth, which is just assets minus liabilities. I focus on how much income can they create in retirement. And I say that because my parents are house rich, cash poor. Beautiful home worth millions of dollars, but they don't want to sell it because they love it. However, they do need income in retirement. And if you have a home with tons of equity and you're not using some strategy, reverse mortgage, etc., to be able to actually create income from it, yeah, you have a net worth, but it doesn't actually yield income. So with that being said, this is what I'm focusing on. You can see our couple here has $4.2 million in investments. 2.2 is in a 401k, 130,000 in a Roth IRA, and then 1.8 million in a brokerage or what I call superhero account. And you can see here, it's made up of two stocks, Apple stock, which has 236,700, and Nvidia, which has $1.6 million. Now, obviously, every single plan differs. It always depends. But if you have significant gains, you can pay 0% taxes on those gains if you are intentional about your retirement planning. This is called tax gain harvesting, and I talk about it a ton in my videos. It's not the focus of today's video, but if you look up my name, tax gain harvesting, it will come up. So with that being said, I want to show you how this might relate to your situation if you want to know if this is enough for you to retire. So you can see in this case, John 58, Hannah 51, here are their goals. So Hannah's not working, John's planning to work till 60. They want to spend $15,000 a month in retirement, $65,000 a year on vacations, annual retirement, long-term care costs, just the final 2 years, and then they want to buy new cars. Do they get to do all of these things? Of course, it might mean they have to work a little bit longer. These are some really healthy goals that they want to accomplish. $15,000 a month, guys, that's $180,000 every year after taxes, adjusted for inflation, plus $65,000 a year for the first 10 years, plus buying new cars. So let's see if this is possible. Now, what will depend is, once again, how flexible are they? Some of you are like, no matter what, I hate my job, I want out. Other people are like, look, this is what I'd like to spend. If I have to work longer so I can spend it, that's what I want to do. No right or wrong. So what do we see here at the first glance of their plan? Let me turn one thing off here because I was playing around before this. So right now, it looks like if this was their exact goal, they're a little too close for comfort. So you can see here, they're 4.2 million. John works till 60. At one point, they'd have 4.5 million. That's kind of the peak. Then it's all coming down. And you don't want a retirement that looks like this. And you can see here, they are planning to live till 100. If they did live till 100, that's when they would pretty much run out of money. So you don't want to cut it that close. So what do we see are their options here? Well, the first option is to work longer. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you everything in their control and what's out of their control. So this is their current plan. Looks like they're, $500,000 at the end. And if markets don't do well, they're in a tough spot. So what's out of their control? Well, what's out of their control is what return they get. Now, can they choose their asset allocation? Of course. So it's not really out of their control. But if they were to say, we just want to be more preservation based, we don't want to plan on as much growth, you can see here, they'd run out of money at 76. If they were to say, you know what, we are not bothered, we want the most aggressive portfolio, we love volatility if it means we'll make more money. Okay, well now you can see it makes a difference, but still not as much as maybe they'd want left over because they want to leave a decent amount to their child. So if they saw this, they might go, wow, we're getting a real rain check here of how much we can spend. So we talked about their spending, and what they were really telling me is $15,000 a month to them, that actually included vacation. They just didn't know how to properly put it in the software, which I don't blame them. This is a very powerful tool. So what they were doing is they were double counting. 15,000 a month or 180,000 a year, that included their vacations. Now, they want to make sure their vacations aren't every year. They said, we are going to do big vacations, but just the first 10 years after John retires. That's when they want to do their big trips. So what's happening here is if we put 15,000 every single month, the software is calculating that's every single month. But it's assuming they're going to travel to the same level for the next 30, 40 years, which they said was not their goal. So they want new cars every 10 years, but vacations, 60,000 a year, it's about 5,000 a month. What we want to do is we want to take about 5,000 off of this because we're double counting it. So 10,000 a month, that's what they really need, 120,000 a year, so they can live comfortably. Vacations for 65,000, well, that's additional. That's what they want to be able to do. And they might find they want to do it longer than 10 years, but that's what they said they wanted initially. Wow, does that make a difference? All of a sudden, now we're looking at $3.5 million at the end. So many of you will make this mistake because you will double count your mortgage. A good example here, they, once again, have a mortgage that is separate from this $10,000 a month. So if they were to say, hey, Ari, we told you it's $10,000 a month, that included our mortgage as well, then really we'd be at $7,000, which is the reality for their situation. Because their mortgage right now, it's very healthy. It's about $3,200 a month. I'm just keeping it simple here. This is their real plan. But they were double counting certain things, vacations and their mortgage. So we're really looking at closer to about 5.2 million at age 100. Well, they don't want to die with that amount of money. So they have a few options. Well, the first thing is John, he'd love more time. He'd love to be able to do that with his family. So what if John stopped working right away? How much of an impact does that make? Okay, well, you can see there'd be less dollars. There'd be about 3.6 million if they live till 100. And it certainly still looks way better than the initial plan. But they also might want to say, hey, we want more of a balanced or moderate approach to our retirement. Now, let's say they want a moderate approach. Moderate is about 6% growth. Okay, you can still see they're okay, but it's getting a little close. They're still 1.5 million, which means if he were to retire really early and not get the growth he expects, that might be cutting it a little close. This is one graph to look at. The other graph I prefer is this withdrawal rate graph. This tells me how much of their portfolio we can take out without running out of money. And you can see it's a little higher than I would like. It's about 6.5%, 6%. The good news is it's decreasing, which means it starts at the highest. 6.5%, that doesn't bother me in the sense of, oh my gosh, no, it's not possible. But if he had strong legacy goals where he wanted to leave 2 to 3 million to his child, which was his goal, I'd say that might put us in a tough spot, and you probably won't be able to do that. So because of this, luckily the graph is decreasing, but 6.5%, that's a pretty high starting spot. So I might say, hey, if you're going to retire, because at 56 you really want to start spending time with family and doing more things of what you want to do, maybe we don't buy that new car in the same year that we're taking a big vacation. Or maybe we're going to say, you know what, because what we did not include in here is he wants to help his child with a wedding. They want to buy a new RV and do home remodels. So let's throw on weddings for $30,000, and let's do a new RV for $100,000, and let's do a home remodel for $65,000. Let's assume we put all those on. You can still see, does their retirement work? Yes, it works. There's about 1.2 million at the end. But their withdrawal rate at the beginning, you can see this is too high for my liking, 6%, 9%. And then we're kind of hovering around 6, 5%. It means they're very close, but look how low it gets here. This is where it's too low. If my client had a 3% withdrawal rate, I'd be like, well, I hope you're not spending because you don't want to spend, because it's not a financial reason at this point. You're in a good position. So you really need to make sure you have thought through your goals in depth. Understand what rate of return do you want to plan on? Is it 6%? Is it 7%? Is it 8%? Is it 9%? And if you're like, hey, I'm comfortable planning with a higher return, great, do that. If you want more of a conservative return, do that. It might mean you're working longer, but these are all things that are in your control, what you can toggle. So I encourage you, go play around with this tool. You can see here, John's salary is very healthy today. John doesn't want to work part-time. We're not planning on inheritance. We're not planning on additional saving. But we could go ahead and do, hey, John's adding, 10% to the 401k, and you can see that's going to make the plan look better because he saves more. We can do whatever we want to update the plan, but what you don't want is your withdrawal rate to get too close if all of a sudden long-term care isn't 2 years, because we had planned on a 2-year duration. What if it's 4 years? Okay, well, you probably don't want to cut it so close. You probably want to make sure that, you're sleeping well at night, regardless of if it's 2 years or 5 years or 6 years. So with that being said, what I encourage you to understand ultimately is what's in your control, when you retire, and how much you spend. Yes, you can do asset allocation and tax strategy, but those are the two ones. When you retire, how much you want to spend. And don't be frugal about it. Don't say, oh, well, the plan, unless you want to, which most people don't, okay, well, it looks like $5,000 a month will definitely be okay. So why don't I do that? And, $5,000 a month, and I'll work till 60, and then absolutely no problem at all. Yeah, you could do that, but the risk is now there's $3 million at the end, and you maybe didn't want $3 million. And what if you're like, I'm okay with growth. That doesn't bother me. I want an aggressive portfolio. Okay, well, the risk is you're mad at me when you've got $6 million at age 100 going, I should have retired 4 years earlier while my parents had their health and I could spend more time with them. So I encourage you to build your own plan, see what you really want. If you want to go into the weeds on tax strategy and estate planning and healthcare and withdrawals, that's what we specialize in. So I encourage you to reach out by going to our website, rootfinancial.com, and in the upper right, clicking a little button that says, see if you're a fit. You'll be asked to answer a few questions, and from there, we might be talking very soon. Thank you as always. Please like this video. If you enjoyed it, please comment below if there's something you learned, and please share it with someone who you think might resonate with it.